Okay. All right. For those of you out there, you probably have something popping up on your screen now, just letting you know that we are recording this meeting. Some families are unable to attend with us tonight, but we do want to make sure that they have the same information. So if you click continue, you're going to stick around with us. If you don't feel comfortable being recorded, you can leave the meeting and watch it later with people who are comfortable being recorded. I don't believe that much will show up, maybe your name, but not your face or your voice. Mr. Roll, did you want me to share my screen for the presentation?
Yes, that would be fine.
Okay.
Can you go ahead and do it, or do you need me to give you permission?
I'm trying. I had this issue with Mr. Caruso this morning. I just have to update a quick setting here.
Okay.
Although, okay, I'm gonna have to have you share it because it wants an administrator. When they updated my computer, I didn't have all my function restored. So are you able to share that?
From what you had emailed to me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to have to go back and look for it. Just a moment, please.
If you need it again, just let me know.
Sure. Okay.
Those of you who have been in eSchool before are probably nodding your heads in agreement, like, yeah, we've been here. We remember how this goes. That works out anyway, because we're having some more people join now.
Give me just a minute. We're almost there.
Okay.
All right. Let's see if this works.
All right, Mr. Rule.
You up there? All right. And we'll
Yep,
just go
that's
to.
great. If you want to hit slideshow there up across the top.
Oh, there we are.
Yep, that works.
All right.
All right, great. We'll officially kick it off then and welcome you all to the 2021-2022 eSchool. Yay, we're glad that you're here. Thank you for joining us tonight. I know everyone is very busy this time of year, so we appreciate your time. We'll try not to take too much of it, but we'll also try and answer your questions and give you the information that you need to get started. If you want to go ahead and advance. All right, Mr. Roll and I are representing a lot of people this evening. For those of you who don't know, my name is Tara Miller, Mrs. Miller. I am the District K-5 online teacher this year, so I will be working with all those grades as well as the gifted students at Kelly. Mrs. Kelly Molyneux is our Kelly Elementary Guidance Counselor. I'll let Mr. Roll say hi.
Hello, I'm Mr. Roll.
And he's our Kelly Elementary principal. And then Mrs. Jen Sands is our Lintown guidance counselor. And Mr. Eric Wetzel is our new Lintown principal. All right, so again, welcome back. This slide is going to be a little bit of a crash course, if you will. So it's going to come at you fast, but once you log in, you'll have similar information in your course so that you can digest it and look at it and ask questions and things like that. So first of all, you're going to hear the word Canvas a lot. So Canvas is our learning management system. In online education, we refer to that as an LMS, and this is where your students are going to get their coursework and their assignments. So how you log in, for those of you who have your school issue devices, our tech supervisor gave you that login. If you have issues or have questions, you can email me. He shared that information with me as well. And then that will also be your Canvas login information. So the only difference between logging into your computer and logging into Canvas is Canvas will need the @dragon.pa.us after it to let you in, okay? So what do you do if you forget your password? When you log on to Canvas, you'll see a screen there that says forgot password, and you can just have it emailed it to you, but please make sure you're using that same student email address that you use to log on. And then this isn't required, but for those of you who like to have like a parent account, Canvas does allow that as well. So when you log in, under my parent resource section, you'll find all the specific directives for how to create a pair code, and you can observe using an observer account. Since you have an elementary student, I don't know that that's really necessary because you'll be right there alongside them, as you'll find out in a moment here, being able to see what they're doing and observe and have all the information that they have as well. All right, if you want to go ahead and move ahead there, Mr. Roll, I'm just going to check one addition that I made. You're probably asking, when do I log on? So Canvas is going to be live tomorrow morning for all grades to log in. Now, eSchoolers are going to follow the district calendar. So officially, grades kindergarten and fourth grade are going to start tomorrow. They'll have off Thursday and then have school Friday. And then first, second, third, and fifth will have the Thursday, Friday official start. But if students in those grades wanted to get a head start and check it out early, it's open to you as well tomorrow. So the only thing I wanted to make mention of that is I am having meetings with students beginning tomorrow. So if you're having a login issue or something's not going right, I do please ask for your patience there, because when I meet with students, they have my full and direct attention, and I may not be able to answer an email immediately, but I will always get back to you as soon as I can, especially if you're having login issues. And then if you're also asking, when do we have meetings? There was a schedule that I shared with my families. If you don't have that, just let me know. And that goes over our first 3 days for now. We'll get to that in a moment. So what Mr. Rule has up on the screen now, this is what you'll see the first full week of school. So that's a kindergarten example. And the other grades are set up this way as well. I kept it simple. I kept it clean so that you and your student can simply follow the day of the week and access the assignments for that day. There's a parent resource section if you guys need help. And then there's also a previous lesson button. If your student is absent, if you're on a trip, things like that, you can always go back and access other lessons as well. And then to the right, that's what you're going to see when you all log in tomorrow, and everything goes perfectly and there won't be any issues at all with trying to get in. That's our hope, but with all things technical, I'm sure we're all aware that doesn't always go to plan. So we're here to support you, we're here to help, but you probably should brace yourself for a little newbie curve, I guess they'd call it. All right, go ahead, Mr. Roll. Okay, so this is really important. And those of you who have done eSchool last year are probably like shaking your heads vigorously right now. So we call our families our learning coaches. So learning coaches are dedicated family members. So they're going to be overseeing lessons. You're going to be talking with your student about their learning. You're going to help with the technology as much as you can anyway. You're going to set a schedule for your student. I've provided suggested schedules, but every family needs to do what works best for them. You create the learning environment where your student's going to work to be most successful. You got to keep them on pace. You don't want them falling too far behind, just like in school. And of course, communicating with me. I'm kind of like your coach here, so I'll always help you with whatever you need. But to be completely upfront, you are the ones who are going to be right there side by side with your student every day, working on eSchool with them. So how would you get help? There are resources on that parent resource link that Mr. Roll had on the previous slide, and you can also contact me with your questions and concerns. The note here that I really want to make apparent is that this role is really vital to your students' success, particularly at this age level. The little guys need somebody with them, especially at this time of year, to help them on this consistent basis. So as family members, whoever that may be, mom, dad, grandma, tutor, they should expect to work alongside with the student and essentially follow the same schedule that they do. I know I worked with some fabulous parents last year. If you're new to eSchool and you're struggling with that a little bit and you need some help, I have no doubt that they would be willing to work with you and give you some advice and suggestions with that. All right, Mr. Roll, feel like we need a cue. All right, so we talked a little bit briefly about the schedule. Essentially, we're trying to hold our eSchool kids to the same experience as the in-person students at Kelly and Lintown. So the online learning is about 3 to 4 hours of classwork per day. That's going to depend on students and families. You might be in a situation where you have to work on weekends only, or you need to work a couple days a week and not have the full 5-day school week. That is entirely up to you. So each family is going to adapt these recommendations and do what works for them. I just mentioned how, as parents or other caregivers, you are the learning coach. So you need to find something that works for you and your student so that you can be successful with your learning. So when we talk about online learning, we have two terms we like to throw around a lot. One is asynchronous. Those are the activities that you do on your own, which will be on Canvas. You can see how it's broken down by subject area to the left. And that includes online and offline work too. Your kiddo doesn't have to be staring at a screen for 2 hours for language arts every day. They can break it up a little bit. And then your synchronous meetings, those are scheduled. Again, those of you who are coming in from eSchool last year, this is going to look pretty different. So for the first 2 full weeks of school, we're going to have a synchronous meeting schedule that I will always share out with you. And then we have a 2-week grace period for families. So our schedule is going to have to change dependent on student enrollment. Dr. Polinchuk had just sent out an email today with some new guidance and recommendations from a couple different places. So there's always this fluctuation when it comes to eSchool. And myself, the district, families, we all have to be flexible and kind of work around things changing depending on our enrollment. So that's a big change from last year. Last year, we had a lot of synchronous meetings. We were able to meet with kids daily. We were able to do the small group meetings. I'll be very honest, that's not going to be replicated this year with the larger grade span and the enrollment now rising. That's going to change. I don't want to speak for what it will look like because it is truly dependent on student enrollment. So this will be shared with you as the enrollment changes and as it is confirmed. So what you're hearing from me is what actually is going to be happening. So that's why I'm not going to overpromise right now. I'd like to focus with my youngest learners more synchronously just because they need more support. But again, that could change. And just to make the point that this year is going to primarily be asynchronous, you working with your student, not all the Zoom meetings like we had in the past. Now, that being said, I do want you to know I am always available to schedule time to help your student. It may take a while to coordinate that depending on your schedule and mine, but we'll make it happen. Okay, so far so good. I think we're good for the next one. All right, now this is another change from last year. This is a really, really good change. This year, we are specifically using the Lewisburg curriculum. Last year with Accelerate, we had standards-based curriculum, so the same content and the same standards were taught, but it was in a different way than the in-person students. But this year, we've really made an effort for me to be able to give you Super Kids, which is our kindergarten through 2nd language arts program, and Bridges, which is our new kindergarten through 5th grade math program. So each week will look a little different, particularly in math. This is the way the new curriculum is structured. There's a couple of different components to it, like workplaces, problems and investigations, number corner. So you'll see some days with some activities and some days with different activities. The other change is that with the online program and with Bridges, we're able to have access to the student resources digitally. So we don't have to give you workbooks, families don't have to print. We're able to work that totally digitally. For those of the grades using Super Kids, that's where we focus on reading, word work, writing. You did receive a workbook just because at that level and with that subject area, it is nice to have the paper and pencil, but that's your choice. Some students prefer working on the computer. You'll see resource pages and backpack pages come up in your instructional videos. We will not be using those. A lot of times in the classroom, we pick and choose those as well to save you from printing and to save you being bombarded with paper after paper after paper. We won't be using those. When it comes to social studies and science, We're going to be combining them like we do in the in-person classroom. So your course is going to be called Social Science. You'll have science unit and then social studies, or flip-flop. So unlike last year where you had social studies and science every day and it was really intimidating and really overwhelming, just like we do in the classroom at the elementary level, we're going to have science and social studies flip-flopped. Third through fifth grade are going to be using a resource called My Literacy, and that's going to provide consistent delivery of content in your reading comprehension, your grammar, and your writing. This also does not require workbooks or printing. There may be particular assignments every now and then, but overall, you don't need to worry about any of that. And then for your specials this year, we're not grading them, and they're going to be delivered more so as suggested activities and resources than actual course content. Like last year, those of you familiar with Accelerate, you won't be building birdhouses or trying to do growing the sweet potato like they did in kindergarten in the middle of January. So like we said, we're really trying to give the eSchoolers much more of the Kelly and Lintown experience this year with our curriculum. All right, Mr. Rule. All right, so we talked a little bit about materials. We'll just go over them quickly now. Accessing workbook pages, those of you who picked up your devices today, if you did not, you can reach out to me. We'll find a time to get that stuff to you. The only thing that was really passed out was K through second language arts. The math K-5 is available digitally, as is the social science and the 3 through 5 ELA. So we're not worrying about printing. We're not worried necessarily about screenshots and uploading, except for some language arts stuff at the lower level. A lot of this can be done right in Canvas. So when available, you'll find those materials that you need. Some basic school supplies that are always nice to have around, you can see listed there. If you need help getting that kind of stuff, just send me an email. We'll get your student whatever they need to be successful. And then we already talked about some of the specific Super Kids resources there at the bottom. All right, now we're gonna get a little bit into the nitty-gritty of what eSchool is like. So first of all, everyone has a 2-week trial period to determine if they want to continue with your student enrolled in eSchool. There's a lot of changing information. There's a lot of different personal situations. Different families are in different positions with working and being able to work from home or not. So we give you that grace period to kind of test it out, try it out, see if you think this is a good fit for your family, or if you would rather for them to return in person. So after September 3rd, your student is going to remain an eSchooler. If you wish for your student to transition back to in-person, that has to happen at marking period intervals only. That provides your student a much smoother transition. It provides the staff time to prepare for that student so that they can help them with the transition, and it just works better overall in general for your kiddo if you would choose to come back in person. So students are able to work through the course on their own, but I would suggest and recommend that you follow the daily pacing of the lessons. They are set up in Canvas the way they would be delivered in a classroom. Again, you might be in a different situation where you can only work with your student for 3 days a week and you need to move a little bit quicker. You may need to stretch it out and do it over the weekend. It's entirely up to your family. You have to do what works best for you. The lessons will be accessible in week increments, so you can go ahead and do whatever works best for you. So you can contact me via email at any time. However, I do point out that I reply during school hours. Just like you enjoy spending time with your family and being able to be with them in the evenings and on weekends, I do the same. So I respectfully ask that you expect my reply during school hours. You may have a different schedule. You may email me anytime, but that is the reply schedule that I like families to be able to depend on. And then when it comes to report cards, you'll still get the Kelly Elementary, the Lintown report card. There may be a couple differences, but we really want to provide the eSchoolers with that Kelly and Lintown experience. Oh, you're getting good, Mr. Roll.
I'm learning.
All right. Okay. So eSchool is going to follow the same district calendar. That's why we kind of have that wonky, it will be open for everybody, but K and fourth, you don't have to be on Thursday. So just for consistency's sake, we use the same district calendar. And I also wanted to make my families aware that every effort will be made to accommodate families who are comfortable. Some are not, and that's okay too. But again, we really want your students to still know that they're part of the Kelly family and they're part of the Lintown family. So when we do have the traditional events like field day, midnight maze, things like that, those opportunities will be extended to your student. They're not required. It's all how your family feels comfortable participating or not. All right, the next one, videos of distance learning live streams are our district's property. So you should not be recording my Zoom meetings. You should not be recording any one-on-one sessions or things like that. We're recording this meeting because it's our property. We are the district, but we ask that you do not do that yourself. And then when it comes to attendance, much like last year, we're going to look at students' progression in completing assignments. So if your student is logging on regularly, and that will look a little different depending, but they're on pace, their assignments aren't wildly behind, they would be considered fine attendance-wise. All right, before we get to questions, I just want to double check, Mr. Rule. I had made some edits and then I wasn't able to share. So I just need to make sure that I have everything covered. The other thing I wanted to bring up with attendance, if your student is absent, if your family's on a trip, or some days your student just doesn't feel well and they don't feel like being on the computer and working on their workbook pages, again, you'll have access to those previous lessons and you'll be able to get caught up. That's never an issue. The other thing we wanted to make mention of when it comes to work, this is going to sound weird, but please make sure it's your students' work. I'm not going to sit and look at a workbook page and be like, oh my goodness, Johnny got this problem wrong. That's not how it works. It works the same way as it does in a classroom. Mistakes are opportunities for growth. There are opportunities for me to accurately assess your students' understanding. So while it may be really tempting and you feel like, oh, I need to help them, they don't understand, I need to show them exactly how to do it, I do ask that you let them do it on their own. Let's see how it goes. And then if we need to provide additional layers of support, we can do that. It is common in online learning environments at the elementary level for families to want to help, but then unfortunately what ends up happening is they overhelp, if there is such a thing, and then it appears like the student is understanding something and doing really well, when in actuality they could be struggling and really need some support and resources that aren't apparent because somebody at home is doing the majority of the work for them. So those are the big procedures. That was a lot. It was definitely a lot of information. Again, this video is going to be posted so you can go back, you can pause, you can take notes. This information is also going to be available when you log into Canvas. So you'll have a section called About Our Class, and it will go through the information that we went over here tonight. So just to wrap it up here and then open it up for some questions. To summarize what eSchool is going to be like this year, there's 4 big takeaways. The first one is we're using a new learning management system. That's Canvas. It's consistently used throughout the district. Some of you may have already used it. It allows us to not only deliver instruction, but we can also assess, we can get assignments, we can communicate feedback really strongly, and there's a communication feature there as well. The second big takeaway is that this is the Lewisburg School District curriculum. So what your students in person would receive is the same as what they're going to be receiving this year in eSchool. The third big one, and this is my second to next most important, is that it is going to be mostly asynchronous. That's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just a different thing. With the way we have it structured, with being able to provide you with our curriculum, we do have to make some changes to our structure. And one of those changes is that it's not going to be as synchronous as next year, or excuse me, as last year. So I want to be really transparent and upfront about that. You're not going to have as many Zoom meetings as you may have been used to last year. And then the final point that I want to make, and probably the most important, is that all online learning environments are very dynamic. That means there's going to be a lot of changes. Not necessarily big changes, but just like getting used to it. The new platform, having to work with the enrollment and doing schedules that work best for students, that type of thing. So I do ask for your patience and understanding. There will be times where you feel much more gracious with that than others. And it happens that way. It truly does. The other thing you should be prepared for are some hiccups and some speed bumps. You're going to have difficulty logging in every now and then. You're going to figure it out, but it may not be on the first try. You're going to have to take some time to get to know the new platform and to set a schedule and see what works. It's okay. I want you to find your way. I'm here to help you find your way. And we're going to have a great year. We're going to work together and we're going to make it happen. And anything I can do to help support your student is my primary focus. So let's get that Q&A rolling. We already have a couple of questions here.
Do you want to read them or do you want me to read them?
It's entirely up to you. There's a lot going on here.
Okay. I'll read them. What will the Zoom schedule look like in general? How many meetings per week for each grade?
Like I said before, I can't answer that question because right now our attendance is continuing to fluctuate. I'll try to do it at chunks, so it's not going to change every single day, but I can't give you a schedule for the rest of the semester at this point.
Okay. Can my child's tutor have access to my child's Canvas account to help facilitate the learning?
I don't see why not. And Mr. Rule, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's beneficial for the tutor to have access so that they can support what we're trying to do and to have that information up front. I will say I will not discuss your child's grades or progress or confidential information with a tutor. I work with parents through that.
Okay. Next question. Are you Mrs. Miller, my student's teacher, or is it their classroom teacher their teacher?
Oh man, this one can go either way. Yes, you got me. Whether you're kindergarten through 5th grade, I am the only eSchool teacher this year. So hopefully that's a good thing. I don't want to know if it's a bad thing.
Okay. Also have a question. Will I have the option to move to homeschooling if eSchool isn't working out and I don't want to send my child back to school?
What do you think about that one, Mr. Rule? That seems more like your area.
Yeah, absolutely. That option is available, again, because homeschooling is done by the parent at home. That transition we can make happen if you think that would be best for your child. You would reach out to Kathy Moser, the assistant superintendent, who coordinates all of our homeschooling as well. So she would be able to share with you the process for doing that and making those changes. Will all Zoom links be in Canvas? I tried to load Gmail on my child's Chromebook and it was blocked.
All right, Miss Stump, you are illustrating what I wanted to say. Thanks. Ideally, yes, I would like them to be in Canvas so there's a consistent one-stop place for you to always look for them. But if you're having issues, I can absolutely email them to you. That's not a problem at all.
I see there's someone with a raised hand. If you've got a question, can you please submit it through the Q&A?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just checking to make sure I didn't miss any other questions.
There's one here about access to curricular materials such as textbooks.
Yes.
The kindergarten through 2nd grade language arts workbooks were handed out, not the readers, because those are embedded in the instructional video. Everything for math K-5 and social science K-5, excuse me, and then 3rd through 5th language arts is all online. And it is the same materials as in person as well.
Okay. And I see, what is the email address that students use to log into Canvas?
That email address is going to be the same login information you used for your For your login for your device, it's the two numbers. Those are the year your student will graduate. Sometimes that's scary to look at. The last name underscore first initial at dragon.k12.pa.us. If you need help with that one, feel free to reach out, Clingers. I got your back.
We had a question, can children work ahead?
They can work ahead in terms of the days. So for example, you'll have a week's work. Oh, here's a tongue twister. A week's worth of work available at a time. So if you want to do Tuesday on Monday and Tuesday on Monday, go for it. You're not going to have access to anything beyond a week time frame.
I was late getting signed up to eSchool this year. Are kids using iPads or laptops this year?
Hey, Miss Muchler. Students are going to have Chromebooks. So if you need one of those, go ahead and shoot me an email and I'll make sure that you get it.
Okay. Roughly how many students are in eSchool this year? Will my child have peers in the program?
Good question. Right now we have 19 students, K through 5, and that fluctuates a lot between the grades. So some grades have quite a few, some grades only have one or two. Again, that's probably going to change as it usually does. And one of the things that impacts the meetings is I would like to group some grades together in some cases so that your kid does have peers and they're not in a Zoom meeting just with me, like poor Mr. Rulis. So it depends on the grade level, but I am looking at making groups so that there is that interaction and that socialization, yes.
What are the Zoom schedules for the first 2 weeks?
The Zoom schedules for the first 2 weeks have not been released yet because we still have people enrolling. So that's going to need to hold off for a little bit.
Okay. Let's see. Will the Zoom meetings be instructional or more social community building?
That's a really good question. Because there's so many different grade levels and they're kind of really staggered, they're most likely going to be more social community building so your student doesn't lose out on that social and emotional interaction. There will be times where we have some instructional meetings, but this year so far, it looks like more of the instruction will take place on Canvas through video, through text, through activities. And then when we do Zoom, it will be supportive, whether that's with technical issues or with some social and community buildings. Yeah, that is the focus when we do have those Zoom meetings.
And then going back to the Gmail is blocked on the Chromebook, is there a way that it can be unblocked?
I'm going to reach out to my best friend, Mr. Jeremy Long, and see if we can get that resolved pretty quickly. You guys are going to need that. Thanks, Ms. Stone.
Sure. Let me see here if there's any others that I've missed.
Using your own device, Ms. Muchler, yes, you may. I know some families have done that in the past. It's sometimes helpful to have the district issued one, although that's kind of completely going across the point we're trying to make here. So yes, you can use your own device, but if there's something not working on it and you would like a school issued device, you'll have that opportunity. And we will definitely add Zoom to that list for Mr. Long as well. Thank you, Ms. Chamelis. Canvas does not need to be downloaded. It is a web-based LMS. So you just follow the link to get to Canvas.
I think we addressed these last two.
Yep. If my child does project work that ties into the curriculum, should I share with you as their teacher? I am not sure that I understand your question totally. So if you could email me a little more specifically what you mean there, I'll take a closer look at that and definitely get back to you there.
Also says, will there be one-on-one assessment or one-to-one assessments? I saw the office hours and individual check-ins. Can you elaborate expectations for this?
Okay, so with the in-person curriculum being used with eSchoolers, there are sometimes where, yeah, we do need to do one-on-one assessments. particularly with the younger kiddos in language arts. So they will be times for that. Expectations for this. Okay, so office hours are not mandatory. They're a support system for families. If you have a question about any of the content, or if you need help with something, pardon me, with technology, or if you just want to let me know, hey, my kiddo is having a hard time this week, can I just clue you in on this? So the office hours are a dedicated set of time so that I can be available for my eSchool families with questions that aren't a quick email. If it's just what's the Zoom link, you don't need to schedule an office hour. But if there's something that you want to talk face to face about, or something that's a little more elaborate, office hours are for you. The individual check-ins are also an opportunity for you to have some dedicated one-on-one time with me, to let me know how I can best support your student. So the office hours are not mandatory, and the one-on-one check-ins are not mandatory, but I would strongly recommend them, especially if your student or your family needs some support.
Was that your response to the Zoom meetings not being required? Did you see that one?
I'm looking at that one there.
Can you clarify if Zoom meetings are required?
I would highly suggest them. Again, I'm not going to say that they're mandatory, just because with me having to hold to the school day schedule, some families don't have that ability. So I'm going to say they're highly recommended, but I'm not going to require them. In terms of attendance and accountability, your focus as a family should be on completing the work, staying on pace, submitting assignments, that type of thing.
When will assignments be made available for the next week? Person referenced the teacher last year made them available on Sunday nights.
You'll have access on Monday mornings. And then what I found worked best for my families was that opening it on Monday and then having a deadline of the following Monday. Again, some families may need to work over the weekends, or kind of do things a little bit differently than most. So to me, an eSchool school week is Monday to Monday.
Internet broke up. Did you say there were only 19 students total K through 5?
Yes, that's correct.
Person said, I'm concerned about your workload with the progress of the pandemic at this time. Is there a cap of students who enroll in eSchool that additional teachers or support will be added?
Mr. Blum, you're after my own heart here. Great question. I'm working with Dr. Pollenchok. We share the same concerns that you do. And there is not a cap at this time, because we do want to provide options for our families. But we are working on a plan to have additional teachers or support. Yes. So we're not definite with that, but we are working on that for the exact reason that you said. We do want to make sure that the eSchool students are getting the same experience they would in person in terms of teacher attention and dedication and things like that. So while we don't have a cap, we are planning on, if needed, to get some additional support. That was a great question.
I don't know if we got this one, but what is the website for Canvas?
The website for Canvas, if you go on our district website, and at the top, you'll see student resources. It's a drop-down menu, and you'll see Canvas LMS.
Okay. Just an FYI, not a question. 6 of the eSchoolers are creating a single pod, so we can coordinate since it's a significant chunk.
I appreciate that. I'll keep that in the back of my mind.
Okay, any other final questions for Mrs. Miller or myself?
And we don't have to put you on the spot here either. You can, after you kind of digest everything that was shared tonight, after you have a chance to actually log on and play around a little bit, explore and see, send me your email, send me your questions. Again, I do want to let you know that beginning tomorrow, I will be on my school schedule. So there are times that I'll be meeting with students or having some in-person responsibilities, since I do have that side as well. But I will get back to you, but I'm just going to be on that schedule. So in case you are looking for an answer in a particular time frame, I would say office hours would be your best bet if you needed something immediately.
Can you give the instructions for finding the Canvas link again?
Yes, I'm going to send out an email tomorrow morning with that, just because it is a couple of steps. And just to repeat it, if you're on the district website and you go to student resource Canvas LMS, it will take you where you need to go. But I will send that out again tomorrow as well.
Will deadlines be mainly on Sunday nights for the week if we keep on pace?
Again, I would say Monday through Monday, just to give families that opportunity to work over the weekend if they have to. Sometimes you run into assignments that take longer than you thought and you need a little more time. So typically I like to stick to a Monday through Monday schedule. But if there's something going on in your family or your student is struggling with a particular concept, just reach out and we can be flexible with that.
And yes, we do know that Zoom is blocked on the Chromebooks and Gmail. So we're going to work with Mr. Long on those items.
You have to read Mrs. Weiss's one. That's a good one.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller et al. For your hard work on making this year as good as it can be online.
Thank you, sincerely. That truly is my goal. I know everyone's in a very unique individual situation right now with their families, and we just want to take care of your students, and we want them to know that they're loved and they're cared for, and that we're going to teach them what they need to learn, whether it's through the computer or in person. That's definitely our goal.
We second that. Mrs. Miller is wonderful.
Now we're just getting out of hand. Thanks, Ramona.
Well, thank you all very much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Again, we will be posting this webinar online so that anyone else that would like to view it is able to see what was discussed, or if you just need a little refresher or clarification on any of the questions. Okay?
Yep.
All right.
So
Well,
deep
thank you all very
breaths.
much. Good night.
We're going to be okay. And I can't wait to meet your students. I'll see you guys either tomorrow or Thursday. Thank you so much for attending tonight. I look forward to working with you.